Call the meeting of the special, it's not a special meeting, regular meeting of the council to order at 7:02 PM. Please stand and join me in a salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Withers, would you kindly read the notice of the first joint public hearing?
Yes, the first, we have joint public hearing with the planning board relative to an application for a street discontinuance on Frank Mossberg Drive, more specifically Assessors Plat number 146, Lot 6B, requested by Moran's Inc., dated April 18th, 2019.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor?
President, members of the council, Mr. Chairman, and members of the planning board, Jack Jacoby, 144 Bank Street. I represent Moran's Inc., which is the applicant. We're asking for a street discontinuance of a small portion of Frank Mossberg Drive. One of the first thing that we filed with you is basically this plan here. And if you look at it, you will see that originally Frank Mossberg Drive ended here, and there was a cul-de-sac. And then Frank Mossberg, it was extended, and there's another cul-de-sac. And then it was extended again with the final cul-de-sac. But we never got rid of the cul-de-sacs that are no longer needed. And second page, you can see a blow-up of the area that we're talking about. So my client, quite frankly, uses that cul-de-sac as a private parking lot and doesn't pay any taxes on it, and the city plows it. Thank you. And so we are here tonight to get in better graces with you. Our concept is to have Moran stay here and expand its operations. They intend to create about 5 to 10 new jobs. And in order to do that, we need that area. And so if you discontinue it, my client becomes the owner because you own to the midline of the street by law. And that would then allow us to start paying taxes on it and to then create a proper employee parking lot. So if we then go to the other board. The reason for all of this is that what we would like to do, and by the way, what exists now is in red, and so what my client would like to do is to reconfigure the lot to not store in trailers anymore, but actually increase the warehouse. If you could point out.
There's an increase in warehouse here.
There. And then we're also talking about increasing in the front of the building and creating a new parking lot with a proper driveway onto Frank Mossberg Drive. And if you look at the small color handout that I gave you, it shows you the new areas that they intend to build. So the additions are about 4,000 square feet, but they're building over about 800 square feet, so it's about 3,200 feet of additional space on the left-hand side, and the warehouse space is another 3,900 square feet. And so we're asking you if you'll abandon 7,236 square feet of the public way, so that my client can then apply to the zoning board, the planning board, and the conservation commission for the permits that are needed. It would be a major site plan review. There would be some relief needed from the zoning board and stormwater from the conservation commission. We don't want to belabor things. I know you probably have a lot of business to conduct tonight, but that in a nutshell is what they're proposing to do.
Great, any questions at this time from the planning board? Council Clancy, question?
So, Attorney Jacoby,
the land in the beginning, when it became a cul-de-sac, did the city take it?
Well, this was the industrial park that was created back a long time ago.
Okay, a long time ago.
And Moran's bought a lot that abutted this.
Okay, so a long time ago, the lot that Moran's is on now was owned by the city.
Correct.
And the city sold the land to Barnes so that they could improve it with their business.
Correct. Which is what they did for 40 other buildings within the industrial park.
And the land that Barnes is sitting on, what is that currently assessed for?
My clients don't know either what it's assessed for.
No, just the land, not the improvements.
Don't know.
Okay. I'll find out. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions from the council for Attorney Jacoby at this time? Planning board? Thanks, Jack.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak in favor? Anyone else here to speak in favor? Anyone to speak in opposition? Anyone to speak in opposition? Anyone neither for nor against? Anyone here to speak neither for nor against? Seeing none? Mr. Chairman, do you have a question?
No, I thought you were gonna ask me.
No,
about that,
I'm gonna ask him, then I'm gonna ask you.
We're
Any reason to see the closed? Declare that public hearing closed, and I believe the planning board is gonna go back?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There's a difference between
Really?
There's a big difference between Skittles and
Yep, I agree.
Really? I need you to explain it to me after, because I get chastised. Skittles is humorous.
I'm not ready yet, but I know.
Yeah, I got in trouble. I didn't, you couldn't stop laughing, that was your fault. My cat would, not you.
Okay, Mr. Withers, would you kindly?
We'll talk.
All right, so this
Would you kindly read the notice?
Yes, I will.
Second public.
Now, the next public hearing is relative to a new Class 2 license application from Vashon Motor Company, Inc., located at 957 Washington Street, to buy and sell secondhand motor vehicles as well as a repair shop.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor?
Mr. President, members of the council, my name is Edward Casey. I'm an attorney with an office in Attleboro, and I represent Vashon Motor Company, which is seeking a Class 2 license in order to operate from the same location as a related entity, J.D. Byrider, located at 957 Washington Street. And this is not the first time that there has been a request coming before you for a co-location of business. I thought that it was when I submitted the application, but Lance Vashon and his sister Liette Fales, who are principals in the organization, told me that in years past, they had had the J.D. Byrider co-located with another Lance Buick GMC franchise. So what Lance would do is come up here in a moment and tell you a little bit about the family, that they've been involved in the sale of automobiles since their grandfather's time, for 75 years. And that since the closure of the sale of the dealership in Mansfield, there is no longer any Vashon dealership in the city of Attleboro but for the J.D. Byrider. And if you were to grant this license, this Class 2 license for Vashon Motor Company, it would allow them to respond to the requests that they continue to receive from people in this area that know the Vashon name, know the Vashon reputation for quality, know the Vashon reputation for fair dealing. So, both Vashon Motor Company and J.D. Byrider would be co-located, controlled by the same management team, similar hours. The total number of vehicles to be there on display would be unchanged, 55, according to the plan that was approved by Commissioner McDonough. And there would be the flexibility in the grant of the license that would permit J.D. Byrider to respond to increases in the demand for their vehicles or a decrease in the demand for Vashon Motor or the alternative. The result, though, is that there is an absolute cap, and both entities would be bound by that maximum number. Both entities would be subject to scrutiny or penalty in the event that there were a violation.
Any questions from the council at this point? Council Conti?
So both entities are going to occupy the one parcel, but we're only getting an application from Vashon Motors?
Mr. Conti, thank you very much. If I may respond to
Please.
that. So that the application, the letter that I submitted speaks to this application for a Class 2 license for Vashon Motor Company and an amendment to the previously issued license for J.D. Byrider, limiting therefore the total number based on what we might do with Vashon Motor.
And just to go through the pedigree,
Yes.
J.D. Byrider was owned by Jerry Vashon and his brother, correct?
Lance, would you come forward and identify yourself and
Hi.
then?
Lance Vashon. How's everyone? J.D. Byrider was owned by my father alone, Jerry Vashon.
Jerry Vashon.
Vashon, Mazda, and Mitsubishi were owned by my father and my uncle Dennis.
Got it.
Vashon.
So you're the Lance that Lance Buick was named after in Mansfield.
Correct. Yep.
Got it.
And just to clarify one thing, it wasn't Lance Buick GMC and J.D. Byrider one location. It was Lance Auto, which was a used car dealership, and J.D. Byrider one location. Lance Buick GMC was in Mansfield, Mass.
Got it. Thank you, Lance. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Vashon or Attorney Casey? Council Dolan?
So just to be clear, Ed, both are abiding by the 1255, right? The 12 customer, 55 display.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Any over here? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Is there anyone here to speak neither for nor against this application? Anyone here to speak neither for nor against? Seeing none, Council Dolan, do you see any reason to keep this public hearing open?
No, I do not.
That public hearing is closed. Mr. Withers, would you kindly move on to the reading of the next?
Yes, the
public
next
hearing?
public hearing is relative to a Class 2 license application from Daniel Martinez of 47 Sussex Street, Providence, Rhode Island, doing business as R&D Auto Sales to buy and sell secondhand motor vehicles at 116 Dickens Street, dated April 26, 2019.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor?
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the Honorable City Council. My name is Attorney Amy Very, spelled V as in Victor, E-R-I, with my office at 462 Broadway in Providence, Rhode Island. I'm also licensed to practice in the state of, or in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I'm here on behalf of Daniel Martinez, who operates a business, or was operating a business at 116 Dickens Street in the city of Attleboro. He had previously submitted an application to renew his license to operate his business there. Due to information or issues with the previous application, it was recommended by the council that he resubmit his application to renew his license, which he has also done. He also did submit an amendment to this application, which included his lease with the landlord, who is the owner of the property, where he operates his business. His business is not going to change or expand in size or volume. It is a property that allows him 8 spaces for vehicle display in a fenced-in area, as well as 5 customer spaces. He also has a 1-bay garage to allow him to repair the vehicles prior to selling them. I would submit that he has been, since being the operator of that business, there haven't been any issues or complaints. The property is clean and neat, and he will continue to operate in that fashion.
Okay, so I have a few comments, and then Councilor Conti and anybody else that has questions. So, at your last application, Mr. Martinez, you had appointed a power of attorney that stood before us. Is that gentleman, are you still in business together?
He's a friend of mine. He actually owns the shop next door.
Oh,
He rents the shop off the guy next door, Marcus Vitale.
Oh, okay, so, but that wasn't my question. My question was, are you still in business with him? Because on the power of attorney document that you submitted to this honorable body, you put my business partner and then Richard,
No.
whatever his last name was.
No, I'm not in business with him.
Thank you. And I think that, oh, I know my other question. I know that this business name, you had previously owned this business, I believe, with someone else, and correct me when I've gone off the rails, but I think in 2017, Rosanna Diaz withdrew her ownership in this business. Will you just confirm that for me?
2016, I applied at the end of 2016 for the...
Right, I got it. I'm sorry. You're right. So September 19th, 2016, Ms. Diaz, by this letter, withdrew her ownership interest in your business, so it's solely owned and operated by you
Yes.
in this application?
Yes.
Thank you. And it has been since September of 2016?
Yes.
When Ms. Diaz left the business?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Council Conti?
There's so many applications that come in front of us, and I apologize. Attorney, I was fuddling with my smartphone because I was turning up my hearing aids. You have a small little voice, and I didn't catch your name. I'm sorry.
Okay, my name is Attorney Amy Very, spelled V as in Victor, E-R-I.
So, Attorney Very, can you review? I remember Roseanne Diaz. I remember her tears. Is what I remember. I'm confused of the history of your client's ownership of the properties. So could we back up to when he first came on to the scene as either a worker or an owner or a co-owner? When was that?
So it's my understanding he's been leasing the property since 2016?
13.
Oh, 13. It was in his, Ms. Diaz's name up until 2016. And then upon renew of the lease in 2017, it has been Mr. Martinez's name, and he has been the sole proprietor ever since.
So, is there a reason why Ms. Diaz left the business?
There's due to, I guess, a breakdown in their personal relationship.
So, has Mr. Martinez operated this facility continuously since 2016,
Yes,
on site?
on site, except for, I guess, the minor issue that happened last year, but he has been continuous operator, hasn't been operated by anyone else during that time, except for his brief absence at the end of last year.
What was that brief absence?
Due to the nature, I would not wish to comment too deeply into the facts, other than it was a legal matter, which is, it's my understanding, resolved or about to be resolved.
Attorney Very, are you aware that this council's criteria, the scope of work in reviewing license applications, is to determine whether or not he is a proper person?
I understand. I also understand that the previous review of his license, there was, according to a news article, information submitted that was inaccurate. It was information that stated that Mr. Martinez had been convicted of a 2016 offense for distributing heroin. That was not Mr. Martinez. However, it was published in the paper and attributed to the chairwoman of your licensing division, or licensing board. Upon speaking with the solicitor, and I have no reason to doubt her or to believe that it was the councilwoman's intent to provide
So,
misinformation.
Attorney, I'm stopping you right there, because we're not looking in the rearview mirror, we're going forward. And the issue, for at least this council, I'm one of 11, around this application, had very little to do with 2016. You're standing here tonight telling this council that there's been no complaints and that the place is clean and neat. Well, I've been there several times, and I have a personal complaint, and a complaint as a president of this council, that when I knock on the door of the building and I can see people in there, you ought to come to the door. I'm there dressed like I am today to talk to you about your license. And people are in the building and they don't come to the door. I have a problem with that. I have a problem with, you have been, Mr. Martinez, you have had instances issued from the building inspector around the conditions of your lot. So there were other issues, in my mind, with this application that related directly to the application, right down to the fact that the city solicitor's opinion that I have here was questioning the signature of Mr. Martinez on the application. That caused all of us, I think, some pause. So I get it, but again, we're not going backwards. We're looking through the windshield. You can see a lot more through the windshield than you can in the rearview mirror. That's what we're doing tonight. What was in the paper was what was in the paper, and we talked about that, and that's why we're here tonight, right? I talked to Mr. Martinez several times, and I spoke to you several minutes after I spoke to Mr. Martinez. So again, we're looking forward, we're not looking backwards, and we're here to talk about the merits of where we stand today and the three things by which we, as a council, make a decision. And one of them, as Council you alluded to, is proper person. The second is it your principal business? And the third being, do you have a place to do this business? And I think, you're starting to answer some of those questions, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Council Conti.
Thank you. I thought I had the floor, but the president can take the floor at any time.
Sorry about
So,
that.
my concern in evaluating applicants for licenses in Attleboro is always the same. That I go back to Socrates and the way that he valued a man, ethos, logos, nomos. You know this from law school. I'm not a lawyer. But I believe that the ethos, what constitutes the man, what the man is made out of, the nomos, that his name stands for something that's important and has a history of righteousness, and the ethos that that he's intelligent, that he has logic, that he has understanding of the law and of how to operate a business in the city. So with that, if you don't mind, Attorney Very, I'd like for you to step back from the podium and allow the applicant to address why he thinks he's a proper person to hold a license in the city of Attleboro.
Certainly.
So your name and your, I know I identified you, but just your name and your address for the record, Mr. Martinez.
Daniel Martinez, 47 Sussex Street, Providence, Rhode Island.
So, Mr. Martinez, I just explained that the criteria for evaluating whether or not someone's a proper person is based on the ethos, nomos, and logos of the body. So if you could just take a moment and explain to us who you are, where you're from, what you do, how you operate, what you believe in, I'd like to hear it.
My name is Daniel Martinez. I'm from Providence. I used to work in this shop when I was 14 years old, 20 years ago. I used to work there. It was owned by my ex-stepfather. He had gotten in some trouble, and he was selling the shop, so I ended up buying the business off of him. I applied for the license here before. They issued me the license. I had some issues because we was painting cars we didn't know before, so we got in trouble for that. We came, stood in front of you guys. We fixed the problem. So we didn't have issues after that, and then me and Rosanna broke up in 2016, when she withdrew from the license, that letter you showed. So at the end of 2016, I applied for the license. I got issued the license 2017. Since I had the license on my name, I never had an issue, not one issue with the zoning board or the city. Yes, there was cops called there, but like it says in the paper, a woman was arrested there, not me. So, like, I haven't had issues with clients or with customers or employees and nothing like that. Like, since it's been on my name, there's been no infractions at all.
So when you're back to 14 years old, you were in the business, what was the problem that the owner got into?
Well, he there were some people that went to the shop. I guess they ended up getting arrested with drugs. This was in 2011. I was not around. I was working there when I was 14 to 19 years old.
And Miss Diaz, has she had legal troubles as well?
No.
And in where you live, you said East Providence?
No, Providence.
Providence. How long have you lived in Providence?
All my life.
Do you own a house there?
No.
And have you moved frequently?
Well, I was living in Pawtucket for a little while, but I lived in Providence all my life. I lived in Pawtucket for about a year.
And so, in the current interest of the business, are you the sole owner? You have all the financial responsibilities?
Yes.
And in your dealing with the public, have you had any issues where anyone's threatened any legal actions against you?
Well, I got arrested for violating my bail. It was I'll be honest with you, I violated a no contact order. My ex-girlfriend went there and assaulted me, and I texted her that I was gonna call the police on her. So she went to the cops and said I violated a no contact order. So I went to jail for violating bail. So they gave me a couple months in jail for violating bail.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So was that the police incident that was documented in May or September?
The one that was documented in September, I'm being charged with it, but I haven't been convicted of it yet, and I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna be exonerated from it.
So the one you mentioned from
That was-
that was in May?
No, in
May
May, a woman was arrested. That was my ex-girlfriend. She got arrested there.
Okay. Okay. And then this September 22nd, 2018, when the police were called, that was...
Yes, I was the one that called, actually.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for that clarification. Any other, Council Holmes?
Thank you. It's just what you're describing is very concerning. So it's, you're saying that there's no issues and there's nothing going on, but I'm just hearing all these things that are happening. And we want to move forward, as President Cooper is saying, and there needs to be some sort of plan to make sure that these things aren't going to continue to occur there. Can you speak to that at all?
Yes, like every time I have an issue, like, cause I have 2 kids' mothers, so they always fighting with each other and they always blame me and they always come after me. Every time they come to my business, the only thing I could do is call the cops. At the end of the day, it's a business. The door stays open. They could walk in and assault me or do whatever. All I could do is call the police. You know,
It's a challenging situation, okay.
If I may add, though, he has installed cameras on the premises, so that, you know, any incidents that do happen are documented, not only to protect Mr. Martinez, but also customers and anyone else that may be on the premises, and for security of the merchandise and for customers' vehicles that may be on the premises. So he has taken some measures to hopefully help resolve this problem. It's also my understanding that there is a no trespass order issued against one of the women to stay away from the property. So hopefully she will abide by that, and that will help resolve any potential future problems that may arise. Hopefully they will not arise.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Delisia?
Thanks. So it seems like every time you're in front of us, there's a lot of hoops you're jumping through. There's a lot of steps and there's a lot of back and forth. So I guess my question is, why is this location, you're from Providence, so why is Attleboro, why is it worth it to you? Like, why do you keep coming down and, you know, why are we jumping through these hoops? And what about this location is so special?
I mean, I've been there for a long time. I know the area, and I actually like doing business in Attleboro. Every time you guys have an issue with me, I always fix the issue. Like you said, I jump through the hoops and I try to get everything done. Understand? So, like I was explaining, since the license been on my name, solely on my name, there hasn't been no issues besides when the woman got arrested there. Every time there's an issue, I try to fix it. I come and stand in front of you guys and I address it and I fix the problem.
I'm okay.
You're good? Okay.
I'm good.
Councilor Conti?
Attorney Vary? I feel compelled to tell you that I feel there's a cloud around your client. I have issues that it's not the proper person. It's not, it doesn't meet my standard for the people that I want doing business with the public in Attleboro. The logos,
Point of
the
order.
nomos, the ethos.
Point of order. Again, this is a public hearing, so if Councilor Conti has a clarifying question that he has, that might be great to put that across, and we
I
can have
stand
this
corrected,
debate
Mr. President.
during the
Thank you.
committee.
You have a question?
I'll surrender the floor. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may, Mr. President, just touch upon what Mr. Conti had alluded to previously in his question. You had raised the issue of, the content of a person's character and whether or not that person is someone that's fit to do business. And I think that part of what America and what makes the Commonwealth great is that it does give people a chance. And certainly people make mistakes. And, that shouldn't be a red letter on them for the rest of their lives. They should be able to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and move forward. They should be able to continue to seek the American dream, and that's what Mr. Martinez is doing. And I don't want you to take this as, going outside the bounds, but realistically, Mr. Martinez has been there. He has started as a 14-year-old child, learning the trade. And yes, were there some hiccups along the way? Some of them when he was younger, maybe not due to his own choices, but due to the choices of others. But he has progressed, and he has continued to operate the business. And he has, in 2016, taken over the business fully. He has all the financial responsibility. He has a name solely as the sole proprietor of that business, and he has continued to operate in the city of Attleboro. As Mr. Martinez brought up, there have never been any complaints relative to the quality of his business, the quality of his work, and the quality of his trade. And I think that is first and foremost the most important thing that the council needs to consider, is that customers are satisfied when they frequent Mr. Martinez's business. Now maybe, Mr. President, on the occasion that you showed up, unfortunately nobody answered the door, but there have not been any customer complaints. Nobody has complained about the quality of the vehicles they're purchasing, or that how they're treated by Mr. Martinez when they're looking at a vehicle or purchasing a vehicle. And I think when you have a business in Attleboro, you want somewhere when people leave, they're satisfied by the customer service they received and by the vehicle they purchased. And there has not been one allegation that the customers of Mr. Martinez's business, while it's been operated by him, have been in any way dissatisfied. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Martinez, how many cars did you sell in 2017?
2017, I don't have my record book in front of me, but
6, 10, 50?
I'm not sure if when in 2017 I had it for like only a month, because I know there was a point that I only had it for like about a month when they read it, because I got it like in November. I'm not sure if it was 2016 at the end or 2017. So if it was 2017, I probably sold like 7, 8 cars. I
70,
believe, yeah, 'cause I
70.
believe I got it in November, at the end of November.
And in 2018, how many did you, roughly? I mean, I'm not,
Over 100.
okay. And if I'm just going to read from the city solicitor's opinion dated September 25th, 2013, ironically, that regarding the Class 2 automobile dealer license, R&D Auto Sales Opinion 2013-9, page 2, criteria for issuing a Class 2, page 3, investigating and questioning of applicants for Class 2 licenses. We understand that you wish to investigate whether the applicant is a proper person, and we will therefore focus on that standard in the rest of this discussion. Neither the statute nor the case law provides a comprehensive definition of the term proper person. We suggest that in your licensing decisions you apply the meaning to the term proper person that takes into account the underlying purposes of the licensing statutes, which in this case is to protect the public in their dealings with secondhand car dealers. So that goes to, I think, Councilor Conti's concern and your sort of response to his concern. I wanted to point that out of this legal opinion to this council at that time when there were other issues at that particular location. But that defines sort of for the council our sort of basis for granting licenses under that first proper person statute. Any other question, Vice President Parikh, and then Council Reynolds?
No, I don't have a
Okay,
question.
great.
Mr. President, is it possible for me to ask the city clerk a question? Just if he has received any written
Oh, that's a good
complaints or
call.
anything like that?
Okay.
You know, from 2016 on, you haven't received any?
No, there was some correspondence when Ms. Diaz owned it, but I think Mr. President Cooper has, but in the last 2 years, I'm not aware of any.
Thank you.
Yeah, I did ask the assistant city clerk today, Steve did, to pull the previous applications and any communications, and there were no customer complaints in there. There was some other documents, but not that. Council Reynolds.
To answer that, if I may, to answer that question as well, as the Ward 1 counselor, I have heard no complaints in this regards to this gentleman and how he runs, you know, when they purchase vehicles there.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Delisia.
Thank you. So, you mentioned that, you know, there've been people who come in and you've been assaulted.
Yes.
What assurances do we have as the body that's going to approve this that you won't be assaulted while customers are in the store, or the customers won't be assaulted? Because we talk about mistakes, and I'm a firm believer a mistake's not a mistake unless it goes uncorrected. I'm not hearing anything that's given me the confidence that some of these mistakes have been addressed and
Point of order.
Yes.
I would suggest that this, and no complaint to Counselor Delissio, but this is not something this gentleman can control if someone comes into his business. Do you know, I mean, it's and most of these complaints, I would just like to say, are boyfriend-girlfriend complaints. They're domestic issues and complicated, to say the least. I don't think it has to do with the business as much as a personal life, and I think he's trying to deal with that.
So I just want
to
get you
move
to
that.
what's the point of order?
The point of order is I don't think that has to do with the business. I mean, he's not being assaulted by people off the street. It's a domestic issue.
Okay. So
Just,
what I will say to that is what I heard them say, maybe not clear enough, was that he did install some security measures on the exterior of the building, and that he has a no trespass order on the individuals that were involved in the incident.
on one of them?
On both?
On both.
On both? Okay.
Yes. One was issued in May to one, and the other one was issued last month.
Okay,
Withdrawn.
thank you. Any other questions or comments for the attorney or Mr. Martinez? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and for the town council for their time and for entertaining this licensing, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor?
Hi everybody. My name is Raymond Saad. I own a business of Five Corner Pizza in Pawtucket, and I own the property in 168 Pleasant Street in Attleboro. And I've been in the business for almost 20 years. I used to own Baba Ganoush in Washington Street next to the Camaro Farm, and everybody's familiar with the business and the foods. So for my experience and I really don't have no relative to Mr. Martinez, however, beside that I've been in his shoes once. I've been in jail, I've been in domestics, I see what he's been through. The mistake we make when we're young is that we try, because we have in the business, we're making a little bit of monies, so we start to experience the relationships with the women, and all of the sudden you have relationship with two women in the same times, and all of the sudden they come back and bite you in the ass, you know what I mean? And I'm sorry for saying that, but I'm saying it truly and clear. But after we go to the domestics and we take the classes and we went to jail and we lose everything we have, and we start realizing this is not the lifestyle that you're supposed to be taking. You have another chance, and take that chance seriously, because otherwise you're gonna be like homeless. You're not gonna be living the lifestyle that everybody dream about in America. You come here to America for dreams. Not coming here to play games or chasing women or waste your times. Try to make a family, try to be a man, try to take advantage of the opportunities. So since I started meet Mr. Martin, because I own a pizza shop down the street, and I see he been through all this drama and all the serious issues that I've been through. I've been in domestic, I have a GPS bracelet, I got out of jail 5 years suspended, 5-year probations, bracelet in my legs, no driver license. After 6 years, I got 3 companies, and my company's value is $2 million in 6 years. From 0 to 2 million in 6 years, because I get the second chance, you know? And I see it. I try to tell him what's going on, and I know it, and I feel it, because I've been in his shoes, that he's gonna take that chance, and he's not willing to lose the opportunity, because I've been there, I done that, you know? So I appreciate the fact if everybody put that in mind and try to give him second chance, you know, with rules, you know, if any complaint or anything happen during the period of such times, your license will be suspended. So that was the second chance, and I appreciate everybody here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Is there anyone here neither for nor against? Is there anyone here neither for nor against? Seeing none, Councilor Dolan, do you see any reason to keep this public hearing open?
I do not.
That public hearing is closed. Thank you. Mr. Withers, would you kindly read the
Yes, the next public
notice for
hearing
the next public hearing?
is relative to a new Class 1 license from JT Automotive LLC, doing business as Kia of Attleboro and Kia of South Attleboro, to sell new cars at 795 Newport Avenue, Attleboro, dated May 3rd, 2019.
Good evening, members of the council, Mr. President. My name is David Menugian. I'm an attorney with office at Pleasant Street in Attleboro. Good evening. Good to see everyone again. I'm here tonight representing JT Automotive LLC, which is the applicant. With me tonight is also Bill Gibb, who's the manager of the applicant. What this is, folks, is simply a change of ownership of the existing Courtesy Kia that's owned by Courtesy Auto Group. Courtesy is currently operating as a Class 1 automobile dealership under your license number. I think it's 11904 that expires January 1, 2020. The ownership changes as follows. Priority Auto Group, which is Bill is a principal in, owns Cerrone Chevrolet. The folks at Cerrone Chevrolet and Priority got together with Jamie Terrell and the heirs of John Martin's Courtesy dealership, and Priority was trying to acquire the Courtesy dealership. They finally reached a deal, and that spawned JT Automotive, where they're all co-partners in that. They were waiting for Kia's final approval so that they were approved by the franchise holder, and so that they could apply for this new license for JT Automotive. The facility will not change. It's the same facility that's the present Courtesy Kia. It's just under new management. Same number of parking spaces, pretty much same employees. We filed the application showing the workman's comp affidavits, et cetera, with the existing floor plan that's been approved by the building commissioner, Mr. McDonough, and that's why we're here tonight. So we just ask your favorable response to this application so that the ownership can take charge of the business, and it'll be business as usual at Courtesy Kia, selling the same wares, just different people operating it.
Thanks, Dave. Any, Councilor Black?
Is this a complete buyout, Counselor?
Well, it's a complete buyout in terms of the old business there. Yes, it's a complete buyout of Courtesy's interest in the Kia dealership only.
So Jamie will have no...
No, Jamie has an interest in this new ownership group. If you look at the application...
You can answer.
Yeah, the principals of this are Bill Gibb, Mark Perlman, Jamie Terrell, and John Conforti. Messrs. Mr. Gibb, Mr. Perlman, and Mr. Conforti are principals of Priority that you've given the Class 1 license to for Cerrone. They formed a partnership with Mr. Terrell, so Jamie still has an interest in this business, but the new entity technically buys out the franchise from Courtesy Automotive Group that owns it.
So they have obtained the license from Kia to operate?
Once this body acts favorably on the license application, that closing will occur, yes. There'll be a new franchise, the franchise gets formally awarded to the applicant, JT Automotive.
We have a letter of approval from Kia pending the license. Okay. I go back a ways with that. John was a close friend of mine.
Yeah, and he was a former client of mine also.
Vice President Priest.
That's all, the only question I was going to ask was the clarification. I know when you were here, when it was submitted as new business, that there was some concern about the closing date and the, our ability to take action in an appropriate time frame. Was that resolved?
Yes, I believe we had it extended to several days beyond June 4th, which was what we understood was your earliest you could act on this, and we urged Kia that, you know, they still had to follow the statute, and the council had their protocol with public ads, public hearings, and then referrals to committee, and then action by the committee to the whole body, and I think they understand that now. So thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any other questions for Attorney Mnuchin? Great.
Thanks, good seeing everyone again.
You as well. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor? Anyone else here to speak in favor? Anyone to speak in opposition? Anyone to speak in opposition? Anyone neither for nor against? Anyone neither for nor against? Seeing none, Council Dolan, do you see any reason to keep this public hearing open?
I do not, thank you.
Okay, this public hearing is also closed this evening. At this time, I'd entertain a motion for a 5-minute recess.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We are recessed 7:48. Thanks, Jeff. All right, ready?
Yep, I'm all set.
Okay. Ooh, do that. Call the council back to order, 7:55. And we will move right on to the reading of the mayor's communication.
May 21, 2019, dear municipal councilors, I respectfully submit a communication from Superintendent of Park and Forestry Derek Corsi requesting an amendment to the revised ordinance of the City of Attleboro, Section 9-35, Dog Control General Provisions, and Section 9-35.1, Definitions, Animal Control Officer. Not included in these enforceable general laws is Section 174F, which reads, "A person shall not confine an animal in a motor vehicle in a manner that could reasonably be expected to threaten the health of the animal due to exposure to extreme heat or cold." Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to vote on the following ordinance change relating to dog control. Section 9-35 Dog Control General Provisions, amended 3/18/14. This ordinance is adopted pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 140, Section 173 of the general laws for the purpose of regulating dogs. The provisions of Chapter 140, Sections 136A through 174F of the general laws, inclusive, except as modified herein, are incorporated into this ordinance by reference. Section 9-35-1, Definitions. Animal Control Officer. The person or persons appointed by the mayor annually on February 1st to perform the duties prescribed for the position by this ordinance and by the applicable provisions of Chapter 140 of the general laws is authorized to enforce Sections 136A to 174F of the general laws inclusive.
Thank you. Ordinances, Elections, and Legislative Matters Committee, please. And Councilor Holmes, would you like to have a public hearing on that matter on June 18th?
Please.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll have a public hearing on June 18th.
Okay. I respectfully submit a communication from Superintendent of Park and Forestry Derek Corsi regarding need for funds to purchase and install a two-piece landscape dump top for one of the department's dump trucks. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $3,000 from account Park and Forestry Salary and Wages to account Park and Forestry Vehicle Maintenance. Copies in your packets.
Public Works Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Superintendent of Park and Forestry regarding a donation to set up and install an interior, exterior speaker and public announcement system to cover the walking paths and buildings throughout the zoo with an estimated value of $32,309.70 from the Friends of Capron Park Zoo. In accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, I hereby request your honorable body to accept these generous donations to the City of Attleboro. Copies in your packets.
City Property and Claims Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Chief of Police Kyle P. Hegney regarding the need for funds for several unfunded projects. The first request is to purchase and install 2 workstation desks and filing storage cabinets for the shift commander's office. The second request is to purchase a computer and software for the computer crimes detective. The third request is to purchase 4 storage cabinets and 2 filing cabinets for the detective's office. The last request is for processing police recruit medical evaluations. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $18,234 from account Police Uniform Cleaning to the following: $4,573.58 to account Police Professional Services, $5,858.40 to account Police New Computers, $3,978.14 to account Police Supplies Office Equipment, and $3,823.88 to account Police Medial Consultation. Copies in your packets.
I think that's supposed to be medical.
I think it should be medical. Yeah, medical consultation, yeah.
Budget Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Director of Council on Aging Madeline McNeely regarding the receipt of a grant through the University of Massachusetts Medical School through the federal government, which reimburses the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for a certain percentage of expenditures made in accordance with the Commonwealth's federally approved Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. In accordance with Chapter 1, Section 12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, I hereby request your honorable body approve expending of such funds and any future grant amendments for this grant.
Personal and Human Services Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Legal Secretary Allison Wood regarding office equipment that the Attleboro Public Library would like to declare surplus. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to declare the following as surplus and available for disposition. There are 10 office task chairs with arms, circa 1992, in fair to poor condition with a value of about $10 each. 2 office task chairs not inventoried, they're broken with no value. And 1 TDY Unit 1 ID 04399, circa 1992, fair, $30 on eBay.
City Property Claims Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Chief of Police Kyle P. Hegney regarding the donation of the following computer equipment with an estimated value of $150 from New England State Police Information Network, or NESPIN. It's a Hewitt PZ400 workstation, Intel Xeon 2.4 GHZs, dual core processor, 4 gigabytes of RAM. 230 GG hard drive, Windows 7 Pro, DVD/RW, mouse, keyboard, cord. In accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, I hereby request your honorable body to accept these generous donations to the City of Attleboro. Copies in your packet.
City Property and Claims Committee, please.
Sincerely, Paul Peru, Mayor.
Great, thank you.
We have 5 other communications this evening. We received an application for hawkers and peddlers license from Chudamon Johnson of 248 South Main Street to have a cart to sell hot dogs, chips, and drinks, dated May 9th, 2019.
License Committee, please.
We received a communication from Planning Board Chairman Paul Denasi dated May 4th, 2019, regarding the support to purchase a Vector truck for the DPW, identified as an urgent need in the capital improvement plan for 10-plus years.
Capital Improvements Committee, please.
We also received a communication from Planning Board Chairman Paul Denasi dated May 14th, 2019, regarding the purchase of a plotter/scanner for the Department of Planning to replace an outdated large-scale plotter.
Capital Improvements Committee, please.
We received a copy of the yearly operational plan submitted to the Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources by the Attleboro Parks and Forestry Department addressing vegetation management in the city, including herbicides and plant treatments, submitted by Councilor Perica.
Public Safety Committee, please. And Council Blair, would you like to have a public hearing on June 4th, 2018?
Yes, I would.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll have a public hearing on June 4th.
And the final communication for this evening is an application dated May 21st, 2019, from Jessica Grillo, a Column Health of Railroad Avenue, Attleboro, for a license application to keep a stand in a public place dated May 21st, 2019.
License Committee, please. And Councilor Dolan, would you like to have a public hearing on that matter on June 18th?
Yes, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. We'll have a public hearing on June 18th.
And that is all the communications, Mr. President.
Thank you. Not yet. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to enter committee of the whole.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. If there's anybody here to, would like to address the council on any issue of city business, now's the time to do so. One once. Gail and George, you sure? I'm waiting for it to happen, George, one of these days. I'd entertain a motion to arise.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. We are on to committee reports.
I signed one and gave it to him.
And at this time, okay, great. At this time, I recognize Council Jackson.
Thank you very much. Reporting for the Public Works Committee from the docket of May 21st, 2017. I move to approve the request of the mayor to appropriate $21,900 from account 1000-359000 undesignated fund balance, free cash, general government, to account 1420100-530101, Public Works Professional Services, to complete required engineering, design, and construction oversight to repair the Farmers Pond Dam.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Council Jackson, make comments.
You know, I actually went out to the dam today. Yep. I was a little nervous because I know it's mating season for snakes and I'm not a fan. But it's beautiful. The farmers, I have not been out there, and I've lived here my whole entire life, but I can't believe that's part of the woods I've never been in. It's gorgeous. And is that Powder House Road that, yeah, okay.
No, Deanville Road.
That's Deanville Road right there? Oh my gosh, that's so, it's beautiful. It's really nice. But anyways, it's in a bad way. It's not nothing to panic over, and this is just for the design. So we'll be getting the design done, and they will oversee our Public Works Department doing the work. But this is just for the design phase, so they're gonna be coming out and asking us for money to actually do the work, so they can buy the supplies and the needs. But, yeah, it's beautiful out there, though. But it is amazing what they have to do to repair a dam, because where the leak is coming through, they actually have a little pipe running through it. And it might be a little tiny hole under the ground, under the surface, but we're losing a lot of water. And Superintendent Michael Tyler was telling me that just a couple weeks ago when he was out there, it was dry as a bone. It was all muddy. Well, today, let me tell you, with all the rain we've had, it is full, and it was flowing heavy. But, you know, you don't ever want to take a chance of one of our dams breaking, because, like he was saying when we were standing out there, he said, if this were to let go, he goes, I couldn't get you to Riverbank Road fast enough, and that water would just be coming in so quickly, because that's where it's going to go first if a dam was to break. So I would ask that you all support for this design, and then just also recognize the fact that they are going to be looking for more funds to actually do the work. And yes, our Public Works employees are going to do it with the oversight of the engineers, making sure that they do it properly.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call vote is required, and we'll start with Council Jackson.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Vice President Perica?
Yes.
Mr. Delissio?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you very much. From the docket of May 21st, 2019, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $10 from account 1650100-521010, Park and Forestry Heating, to account 1650100-573010, Park and Forestry Membership, for additional fees for the International Society of Agricultural Membership.
Second?
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any comments?
It's $10.
Any other questions or comments? A roll call vote is required, and we'll start with Council Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Delissio?
Yes.
Vice President Perica?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you very much. I have no further business this evening, Mr. President, but I would like to call for a committee meeting at the appropriate time next week.
Great. Thank you. Council Waterman.
Okay, reporting from the Personnel and Human Services Committee from the docket of May 21st, 2019. I move to approve the appointment of Kelly Terrell, 3 Commonwealth Avenue, to fill an expired term on the Cultural Council, term to expire February 22nd.
Second.
February 2022.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments?
We have not had a chance to meet Kelly, but that's because she has not been able to come here at the time we met last week. She has children that go to bed early. But I can say that she is a very active member of the Attleboro Community Theater. She has directed several of their shows, and Councilor Deluzio and I have both been in those shows, and she's a terrific person. She'll be a real addition to the Cultural Council.
Great. Council Delissio.
Thank you. I wholeheartedly agree with your sentiments about Kelly. I think she's exactly what the Cultural Council needs. I've gotten to know her pretty well over the last couple of years, and she's going to bring an interesting insight and dimension to it. So I'm really happy for the Cultural Council as well as Kelly. So thank you.
Great. Any other questions or comments?
I would just add that she is able to come next week.
Perfect.
We'll meet her then.
Perfect.
Thank you.
This requires a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of May 21st, 2019, I move to approve the request of the mayor for changes to the current rules and regulations for the city's exempt group as follows. The first change would be language change to Article 5, annual leave, to allow the minimum charge of annual leave in half-hour increments consistent with other bargaining units. An additional change in Article 5 would be language changes that would define leave year and the approval process of carryover vacation time that is in excess of the allowable hours. The second change would be language changes to Article 10 longevity to be consistent with other bargaining units to take effect July 1, 2019.
Second.
Thank you. Motion to note. Any questions or comments?
Well, there may be other questions, but I explained it last week. Is everybody?
Okay. Council Conti?
Do we know how many employees are involved?
That I do not know.
We didn't.
Do we know, if I may follow up?
So
question?
let me, I believe that was provided in the, but I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but I believe that, or the amounts were included, I'm not sure. We can get it. Yes, what they were today versus what they're going to. But while you ask your next question, I'll dig, but I might have left it at.
I have it right here.
While she's digging, can I ask my second
I
question?
guess, sir, you may.
Is there a particular reason why the timing of this motion is important that it be addressed now?
I believe, well, it would only be my belief. I am not sure of the answer to that question, except that it would need to take effect before July 1.
For the next fiscal year.
Or on that date, yes.
So the intent of the motion is to bring the exempt group into the same as the other bargaining units for the fiscal year. And we were apprised of the finances, the cost.
Coming to you. It doesn't give the numbers, but it gives the, what it is currently versus what the amount's going to increase to. At the top of that,
Okay.
500, 900.
Right. For the longevity.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a small number.
Right.
Okay, because we haven't budgeted for this. So, for the public, I mean, I'd like to explain to the public that this motion involves a cost to the city of less than $5,000, to the best of our knowledge, in total. The timing is important because everybody needs to be brought up to the same level at the beginning of the fiscal year, and that, yes, the item is not budgeted, but a $5,000 expense should not be a problem with the budget that we have. And so I'll surrender the floor, and thank you. That's the end of my comments.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments? I know it calls for a voice vote, Steve, but we'll do a roll call vote, and we'll start with Councilor Jackson.
Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
Mr. Waterman,
Yes.
Conti,
Yes.
Cobus. Yes. Vice President Parika,
Yes.
Mr. Delissio,
Yes.
Ms. Dolan,
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds,
Yes.
Ms. Holmes,
Yes.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
President Cooper,
Yes,
11 yeas, 0 nays.
thank you, motion passes.
Thank you. That concludes the business this evening of the Personnel and Human Services Committee. We'll call a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Great. Council Conti.
Reporting for Capital Improvements and City Development, we have no business to bring before the council this evening. We are meeting here in City Hall tomorrow night at 5:30 to draft a capital improvement budget, capital improvement message. And we look forward to a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Excellent, thank you. Council Cobus.
Zoning and land use doesn't have any business tonight. Call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Great. Vice President Parika.
Reporting for transportation and traffic, we don't have any business this evening, but I will note that we do have a traffic study commission meeting on the 6th of June.
Great,
And I call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
thank you.
Thank you. Reporting for Budget and Appropriations Committee. I have quite a lot to go through tonight, but before I get going, if it's appropriate, President Cooper, I'd like to take a second to do the thank yous up front, because...
Sure.
All right, thank you. I want to thank my committee for all of your help throughout this process. It's a long, cumbersome process. Your input, your support, I believe both of you have been at every single meeting over the last 2.5 weeks. I want to thank members of this municipal council, this honorable body who's been there with us right along. Special thanks to Budget Administration Director Barry Lacasse for all of his help. Several times throughout this process, I've either called, texted, emailed, knocked on his door. Special thanks to City Auditor Deb Gould for sitting in with us for several meetings, including all the budget hearings, the budget message last night. Also want to thank AACS for their help, because we tried things a little differently this year, including having one of our meetings in there last Thursday in the annex room, where they were able to set up the camera. Last night, we used the media board to help craft the message. I heard from people at home who actually watched it and said, wow, that was pretty cool to see how this all comes together. But even with the budget last night, I just want to thank everyone for their collaboration, for their comments, for their input. I think it truly shows that this council can really do great things when we're cohesive. So thank you to everyone, and I'm sure I left someone out, but I just want to thank, finally, Vice President Preker was really helpful again with me, especially with crafting the message. I do appreciate your help there. But on to the fun part now, friends. From the docket of May 7th, 2019, I move to approve the request of the mayor to submit the City of Attleboro's general government annual budget for fiscal 2020.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments?
Not on this one.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, and we'll begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Delissio.
Yes.
Vice President Perica.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of May 7th, 2019, I move to approve the request of the mayor to accept the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 13, for the purpose of establishing and appropriating a transfer of money to a reserve fund to be utilized in the upcoming fiscal years to pay without further appropriation for unanticipated or unbudgeted costs of special education, out-of-district tuition, or transportation, fund to be named Special Education Stabilization Fund Number 8507.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments?
None.
Any from the council? Vice President Perica.
Just very briefly, this, I'm very grateful for this. I appreciate that Councilor Delissio, came up with this idea. It was backed up by the administration. Just be aware that, again, with the adjustments that were made in the recommended cuts to or the recommended reductions on the school side of the budget, that line item is still underfunded by $300,000. Even with that, and the school will have to come and ask the administration for that appropriation. So I'm glad that it's there. We're working in the right direction, but it needs to be more.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, a roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with, I forget,
Kate.
Councilor Jackson.
Councilor Jackson.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Vice President Perica.
Yes.
Mr. Delissio.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of May 7th, 2019, I move to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $200,000 into the newly established Special Education Stabilization Fund 8507.
Second.
Did you skip one, Jay?
I'm going back to it.
Okay.
You just did number 4, right? Just
Yes.
I did number 4, just,
You know what?
it makes
I'm with
sense.
you. Who seconded that?
Todd,
Council Cobus. Thank you. Any comments?
none.
Any other comments from the council? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, and we'll begin with Council Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Delissio.
Yes.
Vice President Perica.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of May 7th, 2019, I move to approve the request of the mayor to appropriate $1,200,000 of available free cash from account undesignated fund balance free cash to fund the fiscal 2020 general government annual budget.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments?
Now, with all these, I've made my comments as we went across through this process.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, a roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with Council Jackson.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Conti.
Yes.
Cobus.
Yes.
Vice President Perica.
Yes.
Mr. Delissio.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of May 7th, 2019, I move to approve the request of the mayor that under provisions of Chapter 44, Section 53E, half, as amended, to approve the expenditure limits for the following revolving funds outlined under Chapter 20 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro for the fiscal year 2020. Fund 2601, $280,000. Fund 2602, $250,000. Fund 2603, $150,000. Fund 2604, $700,000. Fund 2606, $20,000. Fund 2607, $1.5 million. Fund 2609, $40,000. Fund 2610, $1.2 million. Fund 2611, $10,000. Fund 2614, $200,000. Fund 2615, $6,000. Fund 2616, $50,000. Fund 2618, $15,000. Fund 2619, $5,000.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments?
I'll just say that I read all the names of each of those revolving funds into committee, I believe, last night or last Thursday.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote. We'll begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Delissio?
Yes.
Vice President Perica?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of May 7th, 2019, I move to approve the request of the mayor, the solid waste fee of $25.54 per unit be credited to Fund 2604 Residential Special Waste Disposal for fiscal 2020.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments?
It's important to note that this is the solid waste fee, $25.54 per unit is what's being moved into the revolving fund 2604, which is the residential special waste disposal.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, and we'll begin with Councilor Jackson.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Vice President Perica?
Yes.
Mr. Delissio?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you. I move to, from the docket of May 7th, 2019, I move to approve the request of the mayor to appropriate $5,669 from Fund 2500, Receipts Reserve for Appropriation, Title V Reserve Fund to General Fund to provide Title V program funding for fiscal 2020.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, a roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Delissio?
Yes.
Vice President Perica?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of May 7th, 2019, I move to approve the request of the mayor to appropriate $250,000 from account Water Enterprise Fund retained earnings to fund the fiscal 2020 Water Enterprise budget.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments?
Yes, sir.
This requires a roll call vote, and we'll begin with Councilor Jackson.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Vice President Perica?
Yes.
Mr. Delissio?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
From the docket of May 7th, 2019, I move to approve the request of the mayor to appropriate $200,000 from Wastewater Enterprise Fund retained earnings to fund the fiscal 2020 wastewater enterprise budget.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments?
No, sir.
Roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Delissio?
Yes.
Vice President Perica?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of May 7th, 2019, I move to approve the request of the mayor to appropriate $98,355.07 from account Wastewater Enterprise Fund retained earnings to fund the wastewater betterment share of debt in the fiscal 2020 budget.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments?
No, sir.
Councilor Conti.
Thank you. I said last night in the budget meeting, but I know the majority of Attleboro residents were not waiting with bated breaths to watch a budget meeting on cable television. It's a little different with the council meeting, so I'd like to just repeat one little thing that I said last night, that the last two motions and this motion, we're pulling money out of the retained earnings, which all comes into the fund through the water and wastewater rate anyway. But in this case, both departments needed a little more money in order to get their budgets level funded. And in this case, the betterment, it's a little different. The betterment is a long-standing obligation that we've had for people who got water and sewer down their street and had to take out loans and are able to pay their betterment back in advance, which is a very positive thing in the city of Attleboro. A lot of cities restrict that and don't allow that to happen, and it causes a lot of problems. So, two things that this points to. Number one, the budgets are so tight that we have to dip into retained earnings in order to make them work well. And number two, it shows the absolute impossibility of creating a capital improvement budget line item in either one of those departments. So that's a point that I wanted to make on this motion, and it relates to a point that I want to make a little bit later on in the meeting. And that concludes my comments. Thank you, Mr. President.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, a roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with Council Jackson.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Waterman?
Yes.
Conti?
Yes.
Jacobus?
Yes.
Vice President Parika?
Yes.
Mr. Delisio?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of May 7th, 2019, I move to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $802,314.33 from Fund 6100 Water Enterprise Fund to General Government Fund to fund the indirect costs for fiscal 2020, and also requests a transfer of $629,979.25 from Fund 6000 Wastewater Enterprise Fund to the General Government Fund to provide funding for the indirect costs for fiscal 2020 budget. Both transfers are noted in the budget book.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments? Council Conti?
So this is a lot of money. 800,000 from water and 630,000 from wastewater, that they are paying city employees and city government to perform some services for them. And the city is allowed by law to receive money back from those two enterprise accounts to compensate for the time the city employees already paid by the taxpayers have to spend doing work for the water and wastewater department. So we've seen, in the time that I've been on the council, in 10 years, we've seen the percentage of transfer increase. And I circulated a spreadsheet to councilors to explain that, but it's risen essentially from 8% to 14%. And this is something that I think the council needs to watch carefully. I lobbied for and won a little line in the budget message, which I'm very happy about. And I have more to say about this later, so that concludes my comments.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, and we'll begin with Council Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Delisio?
Yes.
Vice President Parika?
Yes.
Jacobus?
Yes.
Conti?
Yes.
Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of May 7th, 2019, I move to approve the City of Attleboro's general government annual budget for fiscal year 2020.
Second. Are we reading?
So I'm going to read for each line item, I'm going to read the recommended and the approved. I will not be saying recommended and approved each time. In the general fund, City Council, $164,467.76. $164,467.76. Mayor, $689,897.99. Yes, sir.
Time out, sir. I am missing a page. Hold on. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Something got went amiss here. Oh, I got it right here.
I'm not my whistle, so you take your time.
All right, I got it. These fell out.
So much paper.
Two. Okay.
I'll pick up at citywide.
Yep.
$2,805,721.94. $2,805,721.94. Budget and administration, $677,250.27. $677,250.27. Auditor and accounting, $458,114. $458,114.25. $458,114.25. Assessors, $446,033.86, $446,033.86.
Just a quick point. Jay, if you just want to read recommended and approved in the amount, and if it's different, point it out, because you're just reading the same number. Does that make sense? That'll save you some time.
I'm good with that, my friend.
Okay.
All right, treasurer, $702,951.19 for both recommended and approved.
You're right.
Treasurer, just a treasurer, collector, $412,284.84 for recommended and approved. Personnel, $8,559,977.09 for both recommended and approved. Clerk, $216,732.60 recommended and approved. Election Commission, $279,567.60 recommended and approved. Planning and Land Use, $363,007.32 recommended and approved. Police, $8,773,190.24 recommended and approved. Parking Enforcement, 0 recommended and approved. Fire, $9,551,231.81 recommended and approved. Protective Inspection, $323,214.98 recommended and approved. Emergency Management, $0 recommended and approved. Animal Control, $195,559 recommended and approved. Education, $81,466,640.26 recommended and approved. Public Works, $1,812,614.17 recommended and approved. Snow and Ice Control, $97,500 recommended and approved. Health Services, $2,877,928.24 recommended and approved. Council on Aging, $437,950.18 recommended and approved. Veterans Benefits, $1,050,655.42 recommended and approved. Public Library, $1,183,518.79 recommended and approved. Recreation, $751,581.58 recommended and approved. Park and Forestry, $1,138,016.96 recommended and approved. Highland Park, $43,500 recommended and approved. Debt Service, $2,796,035.44 recommended and approved. State and county assessments, $5,881,428 recommended and approved. Contributory retirement, $5,477,370 recommended and approved. Non-contributory retirement, $0 recommended and approved. Total general fund, $139,633,941.78 recommended and approved.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments? Councilor Delisia.
I'm good.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, and we'll begin with Councilor Jackson.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Vice President Parika?
Yes.
Mr. Delissio?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
I move to approve the request of the mayor to transfer, from the docket of May 7, 2019, I move to approve the request of the mayor to approve the fiscal 2020 Water Enterprise Fund for fiscal 2020.
Second.
Thank you. We'll do the same here. Actually, that should, we'll just go on.
Just withdraw that, and then you can read the recommended.
Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to get my, my bearings. So, same as the general, I'm just gonna read, recommended and approved, $6,889,050.53, both recommended and approved.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order, and Councilor Blair will abstain from this vote.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, and we'll begin with Councilor Holmes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Delissio?
Yes.
Vice President Parika?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of May 7, 2019, I move to approve the request of the mayor to approve the fiscal 2020 wastewater enterprise fund for fiscal 2020, recommended and approved $9,733,199.86.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments?
None.
Thank you, and this requires a roll call vote. We'll begin with Council Jackson.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Coombs?
Yes.
Vice President Perico?
Yes.
Mr. Delissio?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
Finally, from the docket of,
Sorry, 1 second. Who's? Todd, okay, thank you.
from the docket of May 7th, 2019, I move to approve the following budget message for fiscal 2020. Please see attached.
Second.
Thank you, motion's in order. Any questions or comments?
Again, I just want to thank everyone for this budget message. It was truly a collaboration. What I did is I took a lot of the questions, a lot of the concerns, a lot of the comments that each of you had throughout this process, used it to craft the message, and I think we fine-tuned it last night. I don't think anyone's 100% in favor of everything in here, but I think 99.99% is pretty good.
Great, thank you. Council Conti.
Mr. President, I make a motion to amend the budget message in the section titled Water and Wastewater.
Okay,
In the first sentence, I'd like to add the word dual in front of purpose, the word purpose. So it would read, the council requests that a new indirect cost study be performed in fiscal year 20 for the dual purpose of updating the indirect cost percentage assessed to the water and wastewater departments. And I'd like to add a phrase, expanding the scope of work to include a reduction in percentage of the transfers, so that the water and wastewater section would read, the council requests that a new indirect cost study be performed in fiscal year 20 for the dual purpose of updating the indirect cost percentage assessed to the water and wastewater departments and expanding the scope of work to include a reduction in percentage of the transfers.
Second.
Thank you.
give me just 1 second. Go ahead.
Thank you. So, the reason why I'm asking for a dual purpose in the new indirect cost percentage study is because the water department and the wastewater departments need a closer examination. The water department requested in their budget $7,126,000 and change. We just approved $6,889,000. So they lost about $300,000 in the budget process. The wastewater department asked for $9,987,000 and change, and we approved $9,733,000. They only lost $150,000 and change. But in our indirect motion that we made in motion 11 tonight, we've agreed to transfer $800,000 out of the water department and $630,000 out of the wastewater department in the indirect costs. What this motion amendment would do is ask to have that study repeated, because it hasn't been done in 5 years. And in addition to hiring someone to not only measure the amount of dollars that should be transferred between the water, wastewater department and the general budget, the general government budget, as a percentage, is to also expand the scope of work so that in addition to talking about what should be transferred, talk about what could be done to reduce that amount of transfer, with the intention that keeping the water rate and the sewer rate the same, the money that is saved in the transfer could be used to form a capital improvement line item budget in the water department and the wastewater department. So we cannot, as a council, mandate to the administration what to do. We can only approve the finances. But in our budget message, we can lay down a track for future generations to see of what we were trying to accomplish in our budget process. Both the water department and the wastewater department need capital improvement budget line items in the tune of $250,000 to $500,000 at a minimum a year to reduce the amount of bonding that goes on when they lump their projects together. So if we were able to there's no place to find money. They're asking for more money than we can give them. So the only place to find money to form a capital improvement line item budget is to reduce the indirect cost that's being transferred between the two departments by forming some efficiencies and using that money to form the capital improvement budget. I hope I made that clear. That's the intent of the motion to amend the budget message. And that concludes my comments, Mr. President.
I think it was Councilor Blair, then Vice President Pruitt, Councilor
I personally don't think it's the time for this. There's an awful lot of new business to bring forward at this late date. I think it should be brought forward as new business later on, so we can properly study it before we make a recommendation. In essence, that budget message is a recommendation. I think that money's needed to run the city side of the budget. And I don't think it's at this late stage in the budget process that we should even be talking about it.
Thank you, Vice President Pruitt.
Thank you. I think it's fine. I think because it's simply a recommendation and part of the budget message, I don't have a problem with that particular piece being inserted into the budget message. One of the things to keep in mind is that a few weeks back, we did get a memo from Mr. Lacasse showing what the balance was in their revolving funds after the transfer. So there is money still available. There's money in the water and the wastewater. There's money there. So if we wanted to, after we make the appropriation over to the budget, be able to put aside money for capital improvements, provided they have enough money to make it through the rest of the year, that might be as good a place as that, in combination with adjusting the indirects, might be a combined effort and a good place to start. So I don't have a problem with your amendment. We'll just put it that way.
Thank you, Councilor Reynolds. I think you're next.
So I'll go along with what Rick's talking about, mostly because I've always had an issue with indirect fees. I quite frankly think they're too high, and if the money isn't going to the water departments, then why are we charging so much in indirect fees? Why is it going back to the city? It shouldn't be going back to the city. We should live within a budget. The indirect fees should stay into the water and wastewater, or they should be lowered. So if we're going to do what Councilor Conti is suggesting, that the indirect fees stay there, the overflow stays there, that makes sense to me, and then we would be giving less money back to them to handle. They'd have their own excess surplus, if you will, to do the types of things they need to do there. We'd just be more in tune to what's happening with the money, I think. So I'm okay with it. That's all my comments.
Any other questions or comments? Councilor Kovas.
I may be misunderstanding this, so please feel free to correct me if I'm not understanding it correctly. But my thought is that I agree with asking for another study and reviewing everything. I question whether it makes sense for us to encourage them to find a smaller percentage, because I think the study should be impartial and look at the actual costs and make sure everything's fair and balanced, and that the water and wastewater are paying for what they're using of city resources. I would agree with something encouraging them to find efficiencies in, sending out water bills through outsourcing that and paying for a contractor to do that, so that they can pay those fees directly as opposed to paying the collector here. But in general, I don't think I agree with it, just because I'd like to encourage for that analysis to be as impartial as possible. And correct me if I'm wrong, please.
So in the world of consultants that do indirect cost studies, there are different levels of skill sets among the companies. The company that we hired 10 years ago to do the independent study, I think it was called Maximum or Maximus, or I think it was Maximus, did a great job. Their report was very thorough, and it was very, it was expensive, and it explained exactly the reason why the transfer was required. when we updated the indirect cost study 5 years ago, we picked a different company, I think it was Pyramid, and I might be wrong on the name, but there wasn't a lot of money to call for a study, and so they just did a fast and dirty survey of the department managers and employees, and did the calculations, and created the spreadsheets, and delivered a new indirect cost manual. What my amendment asks for is that in the range of consultants that provide these services, that we don't cheap out to get someone to just do a little cost accounting, that we pick a firm that knows municipal systems and knows municipal Massachusetts law, and not only looks at what's going on between the departments, but what might be recommended to reduce the costs. So that, because we don't get to poke our nose into the day-to-day operation of the water department, the wastewater department, the auditor, the collector, everybody as much as they will. So I would ask for Councilor Cobus' support in that the motion is expanding the scope of work so it changes the type of company that we select for the study. And that concludes my comments.
President Cooper.
Thank you. So, just so we're clear, in 2000, I've been carrying these for years. These indirect cost reports, I carry them with me in my bag. Generally this time, a couple more weeks, we'll have more discussions out in the community about these documents, and every time I go around, I get asked, that's why I carry them. So in 2004, Maximus was the company that did, and their report, it's actually underlined and not in the same red pen because I look at it frequently, 13.88% for wastewater and 14.36% for water. I think you said something about 10%, so I just want to make sure that we, in 2012, Pioneer Consulting Group did a little update, if you will, to the percentages, and I don't remember what they recommended. And then Abrams Group in 2015 did the last one, the review of the indirect costs for the city. And then, last but not least, in my bag, I carry water bills from 2012 that Council Conti gave to Council Reynolds, and Council Reynolds and I met with then Mayor Dumas to discuss the way that water bills are distributed throughout the city, the way the meters are read, the way that, and I have been carrying that, because when I go to one of these houses, some of them in my ward, I get asked the question. So, I'm in support, in theory, to your amendment, but I'd like to make an amendment to the amendment to clarify the objective and the scope and exactly what we're asking the company to do. So what I did was I went right back to the Maximus, which I think you felt was the better of the three, and I'm in agreement with that statement. And so I would like to make an amendment to Mr. Conti's amendment and strike the addition, so keep the dual, and add. So it would say water and wastewater departments, period, and then it would say the city's specific objective in preparing this cost allocation plan is to identify city administrative support service costs attributable to the operations and maintenance of the city's wastewater and water enterprise funds.
Excellent.
Period.
Perfect, perfecto.
Would you repeat that, please?
I sure will. So again, we'll keep the word dual. After the wastewater department first sentence, we added and, we will state the city's specific objective in preparing this cost allocation plan is to identify city administrative support service costs attributable to the operations and maintenance of the city's wastewater and water enterprise funds, period. And that's on page 4, paragraph 3 of the Maximus report. That was the objective of the Maximus group at that time. And that concludes my comment. I don't have any other further comments on the amendment, but we should vote.
We should vote that. So any other comments or questions with regards to that? Councilor Reynolds?
I would just say, I would take back my going with Councilor Contes and move to that one, because that is really my biggest concern and always has been, along with Councilor Cooper. So yes.
Councilor Kovas?
I support that. That removes the concerns I had initially.
Let me just take a couple quick notes here. So we'll take a roll call vote for the amendment to the amendment, and we will start with Peter Blair. Councilor Blair?
Mr. Blair, yes. Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Vice, you go last?
I go last.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Vice President Perica?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Now we're back to the main motion as amended. And we can switch back now.
Great. All right, any other questions, comments?
So, Mr. President, I just want to review the procedure that, because we approved the amendment to the amendment, do we have to approve the amendment to the motion?
We just did.
We did.
We did.
Yes, did.
So we did the,
Approve the amendment to the amendment.
now we're gonna do the motion as amended.
Okay, excellent.
Yep, you're right. So now back to the budget message motion as amended. Any other questions or comments? Vice President Perica?
Just very briefly, I just wanted to, this is an appropriate time to give credit to Councilor Delicio. I'm in my 6th budget, and it was my experience that it was a compact, rough, like hardcore pedal to the metal last couple of 3 weeks. That was completely in opposition to how it has been previously. And I just wanted to give you credit for that. It took a lot of organization, a lot of work, a lot of communication, and you did a great job. And I appreciate your allowing me to have some work with you a bit on the budget message. And it was actually as I said, it was difficult, but it was a more pleasurable experience going through something that can be incredibly challenging and overburdening. And I attribute that to your leadership, so thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, this requires a roll call vote, and we'll begin with Councilor Jackson.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Vice President Perica?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
I joyfully have no more business for this evening. I would like to call for a committee meeting next week.
Great, thank you. Councilor Dolan?
Reporting to the Licenses Committee, I have one motion from the docket of April 2nd, 2019. I move to approve the application for amended license to store flammable and combustible liquids from Amalgamated Financial Group of 2050 Plainfield Pike, Cranston, Rhode Island, for 237 Washington Street, Attleboro.
Second?
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments?
No, I just voted out of committee a little while ago, in the public hearing.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we have a roll call vote, and Councilor Jackson? Blair.
Mr. Blair, I believe.
Okay, I believe you're right. Yep.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Vice President Perica?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
That's all the business I have for License Committee, and I'd like to call for a committee meeting next appropriate time, please.
Thank you.
Reporting for City Property and Claims Committee, I have 2 motions this evening. One, from the docket of May 21st, 2019. I move to approve the request of the mayor to declare the following Recreation Department equipment as surplus and available for disposition. They're both in poor condition, one Aerifier Ford tractor and one John Deere weed whacker.
Second?
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments?
No, there are none.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? This requires a roll call vote, and we'll begin with Councilor Jackson.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Vice President Perica?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
I move to approve the request of the mayor to declare the following police department furniture as surplus and available for disposition. All of them are in very poor condition. There are 6 tan steel case desks, 1 gray desk, 5 60-inch tan metal petitions, cubicle walls, 10 tan metal petitions, cubicle walls, 3 tan metal shelves, and 1 white steel case desk.
Second.
Great, thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments?
No, there are not.
Great, this will require a roll call vote. We'll begin with Counselor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
And that is all the business for City Property and Claims Committee, but I would like to call a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Counselor Holmes.
Thank you. Reporting for Ordinance, Election, and Legislative Matters Committee. I have 2 motions this evening. From the docket of May 7, 2019, I move to approve the request of the mayor regarding the proposed ordinance change to have the electrical inspector's job changed from full-time employee position to an appointed position, and also some minor changes in the same section for housekeeping purposes.
Thank you. So we're going to waive the reading of
Yes,
this.
Peter will second.
And Counselor Blair,
Thank you.
second. Okay. Excellent. Any questions or comments?
We had the public hearing, and I explained, and I thought that it was explained to us why this should happen. It does make sense. And the request was that it would happen before July 1st. So I think that there is a little bit of an urgency to act on this.
Yeah, great. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote. We'll begin with Counselor Jackson.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of April 16, 2019, I move to delete the following ordinance in its entirety. The ordinance of the City of Attleboro, Section 2-17, Council on Disabilities.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order.
Who was that?
That was Counselor Jackson.
Yeah, thanks.
And we're going to waive the reading of the duties and powers of that. Any questions or comments?
This was, we had, the city had a Council on Disabilities and a Disability Commission. It does not make sense to have both of those, so this is just to delete this because we already have a Disability Commission.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Roll call vote is required and begin with Counselor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Vice President Parika.
Yes.
Cobus.
Yes.
Conti.
Yes.
Waterman.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. That concludes the business for Ordinance, Election, and Legislative Matters. I will call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Great. Thank you. Counselor Blair.
Reporting for Public Safety Emergency Management. I have 2 motions to strike. The first, I move to strike the following item to change the ordinance as it relates to the appointing authority for the Fire Department and Police Department.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order, and we'll waive the reading of the rest of the ordinance section. Thank you.
It's been in committee a long time, and there was no interest to bring it forward.
Great.
I'm just
Any other
striking.
questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
From the docket of
Oh,
the...
just 1 second. So 9-1. Counselor Conti voting no. Counselor Dolan.
Oh, you said no?
abstained.
Sorry.
Yes, he did.
Thank you for correcting that.
From the docket of November 15, 2016, I move to strike the following item, the following proposal relative to the practice of hunting on public lands and private property in Attleboro.
Second.
This has been in my committee for quite some time. It was brought out in another committee and voted on, so that I see no reason to have it remain in committee.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires we'll do a roll call vote here.
You want to do a roll call?
Yeah, and we'll begin with Counselor Jackson.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Let's see, Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Vice President Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Delesio. Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. from the docket of May 21st, 2019. I move to approve the request of the mayor regarding the need for funds to rent and purchase uniforms for 7 firefighter recruits. Therefore, the mayor hereby requests the honorable body to transfer $500 from account 11241-000-578300, citywide reserve fund for transfer to the following: $3,500 to account 12201-000-527055, fire, rental of uniforms, and $2,000 to account 12201-000-558310, fire uniform.
Second. Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or
I
comments?
think I explained it very well last week.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, and we'll begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
Vice President Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Clovis.
Yes.
Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of May 21st, 2019, I move to approve the request of the mayor to surplus 4 obsolete Life Pack 500 physical bi-haptic automatic external defibrillators, AEDs, that were removed from service at the fire department and declare the automatic external defibrillators as surplus and available to disposition, and to donate to the Freiburg Reserve Service.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments?
Just a quickie, these are going to people that really need them, and it's a response team up there that covers a large area. And although they're obsolete here, they're a great gift up there.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, and we'll begin with Councilor Jackson.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Conti.
Yes.
Yes.
Vice President Parika.
Yes.
Mr. Delicio.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Has no other business for public safety and emergency management, and request a committee meeting next week at the appropriate time.
Great. There is an item of old business, and for that, I will recognize Councilor Conti.
Yes, Mr. President, as you can see in your notes, another public hearing must be held for the 2 loan orders that were voted by the council on April 16, 2019, as the public hearing notices were not advertised 10 days in advance of the March 19, 2019 hearing date. So we're specifically relating to the Reed Street water mains in the amount of $2,700,000 and the wastewater plant upgrade in the amount of $1,500,000. The council votes that made on April 18th, 2019 are invalid and need a revote. So I would like to call for 2 public hearings to be called for June 14th, 2019 at 7 o'clock in the council chambers.
That's June 4th, not 14th.
Sorry, June 4th.
Second?
Thank you. Any additional comments, Councilor Conti?
Yes, the committee portion of the process can be waived according to section 7.1-3, and the vote may take place the same evening as the hearings are closed per bond council. And as a further explanation, there's a conflict between Massachusetts general law and our city charter. The Massachusetts general law says that a bond notice has to have a public hearing, and the vote has to take place, and it has to be advertised by Massachusetts general law 7 days in advance. We did that. It was 8 days. But the city charter says 10 days. So when we passed the loan order up to the treasurer sent it off to the bond council. Bond council, eagle eye bond council, saw that it was advertised 8 days in advance, and the city charter says 10 days, and they threw it back to the treasurer and said, we can't do this. So, we can still get it done before the fiscal year changes by having the public hearing and the vote on June 4th. That
Okay.
concludes my comments.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other
President?
questions? Yes,
So will this be 1 vote or 2 votes?
it's going to be 2
2 votes,
votes.
for 1 for each public hearing.
That's right. So we will split them up, Rick, so we can, so first we should just
Okay,
withdraw
so-
your second and we'll,
So let me make the motion.
yes.
My second is withdrawn.
Okay, so I move that a public hearing be called for June 4th, 2018, 7 o'clock in the council chambers for the Reed Street water main loan in the amount of $2,700,000.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll have a public hearing. I'm referring that matter back to Capital Improvements Committee.
Thank you. If I can be recognized.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. President, I make a motion that a public hearing be called for June 4th, 2019, 7 o'clock in the council chambers for the wastewater plant upgrade in the amount of $1,500,000.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Council Conti.
I have no further comments.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Again, this is to have the public hearing on this matter on June 4th. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. And again, I'm going to refer that matter back to Capital Improvements and City Development Committee. We have, moving on to new business, we have recognized Councilor Vice President Parika first.
Thank you, President Cooper. There are two pieces of new business that I'm bringing forward this evening. The first, I move to refer the following matter to the appropriate committee for study and recommendation. A request to change the street name for Fuller Ave South to Harper Way.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments?
Yes. One of our residents, Mr. Harper, and his family lives on 12 Fuller Ave South, which is off of Middle Street, out in the woods. He is the only, the family lives, they're the only plot on that particular street. There's some land that's owned by other abutters, but I do have the abutters list, but there aren't any physical plots or other houses at that location. The former owners of this home kind of lived with the difficulties that they have, either having, services delivered to their home, the postal service, UPS, things like that. When they've hired the mosquito control guy to come down because they have a 2-year-old so he can play in his backyard, they couldn't find him. They went to Fuller Ave on the other side of town. But more importantly, when his smoke detectors and his alarm was going off, the fire department and police department couldn't find him. So he was recognizably concerned with that in the event of a true emergency. So he actually visited City Hall and ended up with me, and I spoke with Gary Arasian about what the process would be to change the name of a street, because we've never done that before. Well, we have done it in other circumstances, but it was new to me. So I did speak with, planning. I have a list of the abutters. They are the only house. And I also actually gave them the option to pick their street name. So they're looking to change it to Harper Avenue. Harper Way, excuse me, you're right, Harper Way. And I did check with the police department and the fire department to see if that name was acceptable, whether it would be a concern going over the radio or anything like that, and it came back that it would seem to be just fine. So I think this is a good piece of business. I hope you can support it so that this individual, the police chief sent back, he's like, yes, like capital letters, yes. So this is something that we do have some redundant street names here in the city, and it does get complex. So for this particular one, at least we can do it, so.
Great. Any other questions or comments?
I just have one.
Yeah.
Is it true that the people that change it, they have to then change everything, deeds, everything
Yes.
has to be changed from, so it's quite an expense for the person that's
Right.
changing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I did have that so after speaking with Gary, he highlighted to me, like, your license, your cable bill, your mortgage, your deed, and anybody who owns a piece of property along that way, you have to go through that process, and that financial responsibility is on the individual. So, for example, when roadway A and roadway B, there was discussion about changing those names, because that was just the construction name, but there are 60 residents there, and it would have cost all 60 of those residents a significant amount of money to be able to make this particular change. When I spoke with Mr. Harper, he said, I don't care what it costs.
Just wants to do it.
Just wants it done, so.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions or comments? This requires a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. I'm going to refer that to the Public Works Committee and also to the Planning Board for a recommendation on the name change.
I have a bunch of backup information for you.
Great, thank you.
Oh, yes, and also, Council Jackson, would you like to have a public hearing on this matter on June 18th? Thank you for reminding me, Steve.
A joint public hearing, right?
I don't think
Are you
so.
referring it with the planning board?
I'm just, for a recommendation, I don't think we need a joint public hearing, but a street change name, we need a public hearing.
Okay, yes, I would like to have a public hearing on June 18th. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And that passed. It's 11-0, motion passed. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, motion passes. We will have a public hearing on the matter on June 18th, and again, referred to Public Works Committee and to the Planning Board for recommendation.
Okay, thank you. My second piece of business, or the second piece of business for this evening, I move to refer the following matter to the appropriate committee for study and recommendation to establish a special purpose stabilization fund to restrict the interest income earned on proceeds from the sale of bonds associated with the long-term borrowing of funds excluded by the debt exclusion vote of April 3rd, 2018, co-sponsored by Councilor Parika and Councilor Delicio.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments?
I do have some discussion here. There was an article in the newspaper about, with regards to this new business, but I would like to kind of give a little bit of a synopsis and some of what today's developments are. Perhaps Councilor Delicio could speak to that. On April 3rd, the citizens of Attleboro voted to support the construction of the new Attleboro High School with a debt exclusion. As part of the financing of this project, the city has and will issue large sums of debt to fund its share of the project. Whenever debt is issued so that funds are available as project costs are incurred, billed, and paid by the city to finance a project, the money is invested as allowed by the law by the city treasurer. When the debt issued is related to a general government project, non-enterprise, the interest earned on these funds is income to the general fund, which supports the operation of the city. In the case of the Attleboro High School project, the debt associated with the construction of the project is excluded, and the taxpayers will be paying for this project outside of the levy. By setting aside the interest income earned on the debt issued for the AHS project for the purpose of reducing future debt issuance, the amount of debt excluded and ultimately paid by the taxpayer would be reduced. These funds are not intended to increase the funding of the project, but to reduce the amount of future debt issued, as these funds will be used towards the project costs with a future vote of the Municipal Council. The budget as presented to the Honorable Municipal Council for fiscal 2020 includes an estimate of $20,000 for interest income as a local receipt, which is equal to the amount forecasted since fiscal 2016. As such, it was the belief of the Honorable Municipal Council that the dedication of this revenue would not negatively impact the fiscal 2020 budget as presented. It is noted that this revenue stream is non-recurring and limited in nature, as the interest earned will diminish as project costs are paid and the proceeds are utilized. Furthermore, to be clear, it is also known that as part of the plan to finance the overall high school project, the cost associated with the debt of the feasibility study has been excluded from the debt exclusion and will continue to be part of the overall levy. So, in layman's terms, or how it had to be explained to me, is that we're making money off of, we made a small initial borrow, we made a larger secondary borrow. It was $40 million. From February 28th till the end of March, we earned over $81,000 in interest. Add that to the $40 million, and then the month of April, so we're gonna earn another $85,000. And then for June, May and June, we'll do the same. None of those funds were accounted for in the budget for fiscal 20. So all of those funds are going to go to the general fund. We would have need to have taken action prior to the start of fiscal 19 to be able to capitalize on those funds. So moving forward, being that this money is generated by the borrowing that was authorized by the city residents, this is their money. This is our money. It's outside the levy. It has no specific direction that it needs to go in. And the reality of it is because it's our money, it should go directly right back to the project. It should be gathered and utilized to lower our borrowing at the end, similar to the commitments that we've made to sell the buildings and use that to lower what our borrowing is. The interest earned on this project needs to be separated out and turned back into the project. It's very important. We did have some other, Mr. Delisio and myself had multiple conversations. This has been in the works for a couple of weeks. We had Deb Gould and I met last Friday. We spoke with bond counsel. We spoke with 3 different attorneys on making sure that the stabilization fund can be enacted. It does take a vote of the municipal council to establish a stabilization fund. We also had a conference call today with bond counsel that included Deb Gould and Laura Gignac, and perhaps maybe Mr. Delisio would like to speak to what we discussed at that point, if that's okay.
Sure.
So I know this is a lot of discussion for introduction to new business. However, this is something that we haven't really seen before. We've all talked about the projects, and there's a lot of unknown with this project. So Vice President Parika was referring to a conference call that Vice President Parika, Deb Gould, Laura Gignac, and I had with bond counsel today. Because the most important thing before we introduce this is, can we do this? Is this going to impact the contract of the bonds? Is this going to impact the project itself? So the good thing is it's not. And the funds that are being, the interest that's being earned on these bonds needs to go back to the taxpayer, essentially. This is fiscal policy that I think makes sense. I think we've all talked about how we want to help the taxpayers out with this. I think this is would work well in conjunction with Council Holmes' special committee. I think we're looking at this in a different way, and I think it's a way that makes sense, and it's a way that's going to impact the taxpayers positively going forward. And this is something that thank you to Deb and to Laura and to Bridget from bond counsel. The other people that we've spoken with to make sure that, we have our T's crossed and our I's dotted. So that's it for now.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, Council Cobus.
This is great, and I appreciate this. As you prepare for further discussion about this, one of the things I would encourage you to look at is whether it makes sense to save this money until the very end, or to create the stabilization fund, and then each time we borrow, empty it at that point to reduce each individual one as we move forward. But I just encourage you to look at that, because that will probably save there a little bit.
We have.
Okay. Thank you. Council Holmes.
Thank you. I think it's a creative way. I really want to learn more about this, and I'm excited about it. That concludes my comments.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments here? Council Wyman.
I'd like to ask Councilor Delisio, I assume that this will repeat itself again as we borrow more money. Am I correct or not?
Yes, but as Vice President Parika alluded to, what's going to happen is we have the 40 million right now. The interest on that's going to continue to decrease as the funds in that savings account. I think that's a great question, and I think it's kind of it's a complex answer that I think would be better served answered once it's assigned to committee.
You're doing a great job.
No other questions or comments? This requires a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That is referred to the Budget and Appropriations Committee. Motion passes. And that's it. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. We are adjourned. All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned 9:18.
Good.